A quiet meeting with the potential to make a lot of noise. U.S. President Obama met with the Dalai Lama at the White House today, despite China's threats to the U.S. if it did not cancel the meeting. Was the meeting worth it, and will China retaliate? Here to talk about the implications of all this is investigative journalist Webster Tarpley. Mr. Tarpley, talk a little bit about what all this means. I mean, obviously, the United States knows that China was not happy with this, and yet they went forward with this meeting anyway.
The meeting has now occurred, and it was done in low-key. It was done in the map room, not the Oval Office. There was no pool of press. There was no official photograph. There was no press conference. There was no handshake. There was no joint statement. There was none of that. The Dalai Lama said he was very happy, and Obama was very supportive, and Gibbs said yes, Obama supports the Dalai Lama, and Obama seems to say there should be direct talks between China and Tibet, which there already are. So that's basically that, except that this is a monumental affront to China. It is a very unfriendly act. If we had a secessionist movement in North Dakota or something and they were received by the president of China, the U.S. would scream bloody murder. So I think you can put that in perspective.
And let's remind people here, this is not the first offense that the U.S. has done toward China, who, by the way, the United States relies on China pretty heavily for a lot of things, including, let's be honest, money. But we should remind everyone that first, the United States sold arms to Taiwan, which was, I don't know if we want to say a greater offense, but certainly a major thing. And now this. I mean, what message is the United States trying to send to China, and what message is the United States trying to send to American citizens?
The U.S. policy is not easy to understand because it seems to be very destructive with really no hope of succeeding, but this is what it is, and it reflects again this tremendous hysteria in the Washington elites that China is now overtaking the United States in so many areas. So we've seen the Taiwan gambit, we've seen the Tibet gambit. Now where will those tensions be expressed? Where might the Chinese retaliate? Well, look at Iran, look at Pakistan. Iran is simply the source of Chinese oil in the future. Pakistan is the pipeline country that will get the oil from Iran into China. So we now have General Makarov, General Levashov, and Ahmadinejad himself saying that he's expecting an attack by the United States, possibly in tandem with Israel. That will be really an attack on China's primary oil source. Similarly, in Pakistan, the Taliban now say that the main purpose of the U.S. offensive in Helmand province is to damage Chinese economic interests, because you're driving the Taliban into Baluchistan, part of Pakistan, and in particular you're going to be enveloping the port of Gwadar, which is one of the biggest Chinese overseas projects anywhere in the world. It's going to be surrounded by very angry guerrillas as a result of this. So these are both moves against China, even though they're sold to the American public under the rubric of global war on terror, which is basically a cover story.
And let's go a little bit to the irony of this. Let's speak a little deeper. I mean, President Obama has said, I want to reach across the aisle within my own country, within the two parties. He's also said, I want to reach across the aisle to all countries willing to talk. But by having this meeting with the Dalai Lama, isn't this sort of going against like the peace and harmony that he's preached, especially when it concerns China?
Not only with Obama did he meet, but also with Secretary Clinton, which just makes no sense at all, because these are supposed to be religious discussions. You're right. This makes no sense. This is a feckless, impotent foreign policy. One of the byproducts may be to radicalize the succession. President Hu and Prime Minister Wen are on their way out now. There's going to be the 18th Congress of the Chinese Communist Party. That's going to be in the fall of 2012, most likely. People think that there are two factions. They're the elitists who are interested in globalization. They're from Shanghai and the rich coast. And then you have the populists, and they're interested in these tremendous social tensions between the wealthy coast and the poverty-stricken interior of China. I'm afraid that what Obama's actually succeeded in doing is to radicalize the process of succession so that what comes out of it may not be the equilibrium of the factions that we're used to. It's probable that the populists will get the upper hand, and the populists may be much tougher customers than people like Jiang Zemin were, elitist, back in the 1990s. So this could get very, very tense very, very fast. The U.S. seems to think that the Chinese have to grin and bear it, and they don't anymore.
All right, investigative journalist Webster Tarpley, thanks so much.